When I first found out that I was going to be a parent, it wasn't the ideal situation. I was 17, and actually I was 16, and expecting a baby. And it wasn't what anybody thought would be the best thing for me. You know, people thought I should terminate the pregnancy, but I obviously didn't. And having my son Chris is the greatest joy of my life, because I had never felt love the way I felt love when I held him in my arms, and he just made me want to change my whole life around and become a better person. And I'm so glad that I kept him and that I had my precious boy. Oh, it's just overwhelming love, I would say. Something so surreal that I had never felt before. He was a colicky baby. He had a little tummy trouble, but he was a good baby. I remember putting him in one of those swings that you hook up on a door jamb, and he would just bounce up and down. He was about 5 months old, and it was the funniest thing. And we would just, my mom, my brother, and I would just watch him, and he just with his tippy toes hit the ground and jump up so high, and he was a happy baby. He was a good boy. He actually started walking on his birthday. He had a birthday party, and that day was the day he started walking. So that was really special because everybody got to see it. It was a neat thing. He began to speak at a very young age. He was very bright, and so he had a great vocabulary. And one thing I remember is that he learned to ride a bike when he was about, I guess he might have been like 3, and he looked so tiny on this little tiny bike just going up and down the street. It was so precious. And then he had a tricycle that had a back seat, and he would give his sister rides in, and that was so sweet to watch as well. I just loved the name Christopher, and I just chose that name. He has no middle name. Kind of unusual. My mom said, he doesn't need a middle name, so Christopher it was. Today he's 26. Well, again, I was a young mama. I was 19 when she was born. And again, not the ideal situation. But these 2 children truly changed my life. They taught me responsibility and more than anything, just love. There's nothing more than love from children, that you want to give them a better life, give them everything that you can. So having her was so precious to me, my little girl, my first little girl, my little princess. She had black hair when she was born, all around from her ear to ear, but the top was bald. So she looked like a little old man. It was kind of funny. And so I decided to shave it off. Somebody said, if you shave it off, it'll come in all, fuller. So I did shave it off, and it didn't come back in black. And it was lighter brown, but she still looked adorable. My girlfriend who lived a couple of doors down and I would sit outside and we would just talk about names. My mom had this really nice outdoor patio, and we would sit there many nights and just talk and think about names, and she actually suggested it, and I thought it was the most beautiful name I'd heard. And I thought, this is my daughter's name, Briana. Well, she was different than her older brother because she was goofy. She was funny in her own way. She always tried to top her brother. If he made a joke, she would instantly make one up, which wasn't funny, but it was hilarious because it wasn't funny. So it would crack everybody up. If Chris did something like, hey mom, look, I could stand on my head. I remember her just kind of looking and saying, Mom, look what I can do. And she put all four down, her two hands and her feet, and then she raised her back leg. And it was hysterical. It was just hysterical. I just laughed. I said, that's fabulous, honey. That's wonderful. So she was just a goofy, silly little girl. And I remember she had a little bit of a cross eye. So she wore glasses for a little while. She's the cutest little thing. Always had a little bop with the bangs. And she was always a little, just petite little thing. She was more of a girly girl. She didn't wear a lot of dresses, but she liked her Barbies, and she loved her glitterator that she got one year for Christmas. And she loved doing things like that. She's very artsy. She's got a lot of talent in the drawing or painting, as does her older brother too. She admired him and loved him until they became teenagers. Then it kind of changed a little bit, but I think we've bridged that gap now. He was good to her. He was always sweet to her and took care of her. She was a little more outgoing than he was. I always remember taking them to like a fair. I remember going to the Costa Mesa Fair, and he refused to get on roller coasters. To this day, he doesn't like roller coasters, even though he's in the special warfare in the Navy. He doesn't like roller coasters, which I think is funny. But she would get on the little baby roller coasters all by herself. And I have a picture of her. It was like a worm roller coaster, and she's got her hands stretched up high to the sky, and she's sitting by herself, and she's got the hugest smile on her face. So I remember that she was always brave, just wanting to be a little bit of a risk taker. She doesn't like roller coasters anymore. Unfortunately, I was a single mom. I worked late. By the time I picked them up from their, they used to go to the Boys and Girls Club. And by the time I got home and had dinner and they did their homework, we didn't have a lot of time to do those things which are so precious. I have a lot of those memories with Tommy and Annalise because I was a stay-at-home mom at that point. That's, I think, my biggest regret is just not being able to be with them more, with Chris and Briana, to just spend that time with them and bond with them and do all of those things that are so wonderful, create memories. But I do remember that she had a favorite book, because I was trying to think, and I don't remember what it's called, but it's that little fish with the sparkly scales. That was one of her favorite books. I remember that. I remember the room. They had bunk beds, and one year I got her a cat that looked like a long-haired, medium-haired Siamese cat, and she named her Jasmine. She was the sweetest cat ever, super sweet, and somehow she got pregnant. I don't know how it happened. Well, I do know how it happened, but I didn't know it happened. And one morning, Briana wakes up and says, Mom, Jasmine had babies under my bed. And I said, what? I was completely shocked, because she was already a little bit of a long-haired cat, so I really couldn't tell. I didn't spend a lot of time holding her or anything, but she slept with Briana every night. And Briana said she heard her during the night, something was going on, and it was right under her bed. And she said, I I kept picking up the kitties and looking at them and going, oh, how cute. And she would put them back, and then she would pick up another one. Oh, how cute. And at one point she picked up the placenta and said, oh, this doesn't look like a cat. And she put it back. And she thought there were a bunch of kittens, but there were only 2. And so we thought, well, there's only 2, we'll keep them. They were both girls. And we were in the process of moving. And I thought, well, once we get all moved, I'll get them fixed because they're little. This is a funny story too, because this is during the time that I kind of met Tom, a little bit after. So we moved from this house to another house, and we have our 3 cats. Well, pretty much as soon as we got there, they all got pregnant again. And I was beside myself because I felt like I had so much on my plate. And so they all had, well, I knew 2 of them were pregnant. And I thought, this last one is not pregnant, I'm gonna take her to get fixed. So 2 of Jasmine and one of her kittens had babies. Well, between them 2 and the 3 cats that I had, we had a total of 17 cats. Yes. I immediately got the 2 mama cats fixed, and I felt so guilty. This is how I am. I felt so guilty. I couldn't take them to the pound. Week after week, I would take them to PetSmart to try to get them adopted. I had posters up at work, you know, kittens, adorable, and I tried to give away as many as I could. Before I gave any of them away, well, and I got them all fixed, just to let you know. It cost me a small fortune, but I got them all fixed because I felt I had done this and I needed to take care of it. I was gonna fix them and find them a home. So, I still have 17 cats. Tom is allergic to cats. He doesn't like cats. And so, you know, we had gone out on our date, and I had invited him over one time. And I think it was a Saturday morning, he came over, and he didn't know about the cats. And the way I fed them was that I had 2 big bowls, like dog bowls, and I would just fill them to the rim with cat food. And I would put them outside. And then I would say, here, kitty, kitty. They would come running out of the woodworks all over the place. It was a sight to see. I wish I would have had a video camera at that time. So I told him, I go, there's something I gotta tell you. He's like, what? And I said, just stand here and watch. And I filled the bowls, I put them out, and I called the cats, and he was like, what the heck? He couldn't believe it. And the funny part is that I had a bunch of cypress trees on the side of my house. I had a possum that lived there, and the possum would come running out and eat with the cats. And they all got along just fine. And the possum would just eat the food with the cats. And so that is a funny story that all started in Briana's room. And eventually we gave all of the cats away except for 3, which we brought here when we bought this house. And they stayed here till the end of their lives. So I hope I did right by those kitty cats. So I was determined though to just find them a home, and the funny part was the possum. And then the possum had her babies. She had like, I don't know, it looked like about like 12 babies on each side. They would hold on to her back. She would walk on the block wall, and she had like these little babies that were just holding on to her. And so it was quite interesting. Well, I think for my son, Chris, I think him having gone into the military was good for him. And I remember feeling proud because he was serving our country, and he made such a huge change in his life, in the way he had been and what he had become. It really shaped who he became, and I'm proud of him for that. He is never late, very prompt, gets everything done. If he says, I'm going to do something, he does it. So I'm proud of who he is. I'm proud of that. And but I am so proud of him. He went on to serve our country. And when I see him, I see a big, strong man. He's a leader. And I'm proud of what he's doing now. He's going to school. And I just love him so much. I'm so blessed that God sent him to me as my son. Even when it appeared that it was the wrong thing, the wrong time, it wasn't, because I feel like he was my saving grace, and he just made me go in a completely different direction. So I'm so proud of him, and I love him so much. He's a leader. I think he's a leader. I have a Bible verse because when he was little, I remember him coming to the Lord and just watching him and enjoying and loving God and walking with God. And my hope is that he will continue to do that. I think about Philippians 1:6, where it says, and I am certain that God, who began the good work within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Christ Jesus returns. So I just pray that his heart would turn to the Lord and walk with him and love him all the days of his life. Briana. I love that she doesn't give up. She doesn't give up. She works so hard. And sometimes I think even when she's going to stenography, I think I said that wrong. She's going to ultrasound school. And studying doesn't come easy for her. It never has. But she works so hard. She puts in 3 times the time that somebody else might put in. She doesn't give up. And I love that about her. I love that she's naturally motherly. She doesn't have kids of her own, but she's so great with kids. She's so great with kids, and she's really stepped up here at home since I've not been well. She's always making sure everything gets done, and still going to school. She is definitely dedicated. She is loyal. When she says she's going to do something, she does it. Very conservative, responsible, doesn't jump on things right away, thinks about things before she does it. So I've seen a big change in her. She's a wonderful daughter, and she's been so good to me. Since she moved in here, when I was sick, she's been so good to me, just handling everything with such courage and such love. She's precious. My hopes and dreams for both of them are that they would walk with the Lord all the days of their life, that they would have a strong marriage, that they would respect their spouses and love their spouses and have grace, grace, grace. A Bible verse that I have for Briana is Micah 6:8, which says, "The Lord has told you what is good, and this is what He requires of you, to do what is right, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God." I just always tell her, grace, grace, grace. For your siblings, for your husband, for anybody, to just have grace. Ryan, Briana's husband, I think he's really special. He has such a tender heart, and he's a pleaser. I see him trying to please her or to please me. When he goes to the store, he always asks if I need anything. He comes in and always says hi to me. If I'm not feeling well, he'll ask if he can pray for me. He's just a very sweet soul. I'm proud that he is my daughter's husband. I think they're going to be great parents. Briana just loves playing with the kids, and he's just a little protector, and I just know they're going to be awesome parents one day. Chris's wife. My first impression of her was, wow, what a beauty. She's a gorgeous girl. But when I got to know her, I realized that she was beautiful on the inside as well. She's just very friendly and kind. She was so good to my mom when my mom was still living. She's so good to all my family. She speaks Spanish with them. Sometimes, people don't want to speak that language because they don't usually use it that often, so they might be a little conscious of it, but she has no problem talking to everyone. She's just got that quality about her, like a host, or just very sweet and very intelligent, and I'm proud of her. She's going to school and she's working really, really hard. So I'm really proud of her, and I know that she's going to reach her dreams one day.